I'm Nathan Ponchard, this is Chasing Cars, and this is the 2022 Audi A4 45 TFSI Quattro Sedan. Now, while you might think the A4 sedan is probably the mainstay of Audi's medium-sized range, it's actually not anymore. The A5 Sportback outsells it 40% to 32%, with the S models taking 20%. Well, that's at least what Audi said when this car launched last year. So we're here to investigate what still makes this sedan a good thing to buy. Now, for starters, it costs $10,000 less than the Sportback, so you're getting more value for money. You're also getting more headroom, so that's one reason to have it. This car in particular has a couple of special options just to make it look a little bit more different from the normal A4, and I personally think they work really well. At the front, the lights are what was new in 2020, as well as what we shall discover when we walk down the side of the car. This gloss black pack, which is on the grille, on the mirror caps, and various other bits on the car, cost $800. These alloy wheels, which are 19s, which are already standard, but these are Audi Sport 19s. To have this individual design, they cost $385, which seems like a bit of a bargain on an Audi. They have 245 Hankook Ventus tyres, which Audis have run that brand for quite some time now. Along the side here, here's where the new A4 is different. When this car got a facelift in 2020, it actually changed almost every panel down the side of the car, even though it looks kind of the same. So it has these cool little wheel arch blisters that stick out over both front and rear wheels, just to give it a little bit more personality. Whereas the A5 already had creases all over it and didn't need any more. This one needed a couple of bits extra to make the 2020s look more contemporary. As we come around the back here, so we've got more gloss around the window frames here, and at the back it has these quite cool new rear lights, which we have sequential indicators in, which give it a little bit of pizzazz, although that doesn't have those at the front. And we have what a sedan is known for, which is a decent sized boot. In the A4 here, it's a 460 litre boot. It's typically beautifully trimmed like any other Audi, and there's a whole bunch of features inside like cargo nets, little side bins. In this case, because it's a Quattro, it only has a space saver under the floor, but still 460 litres is heaps, and that seat is 40-20-40 with a ski port, so it goes almost flat. So there is a little bit of practicality, actually more than a little bit, going on here with a car like this. Now, while I might normally criticise the A4's interior being too much grey, this car is already grey. It's a $1,531 optional colour called Quantum Grey, which looks very much like the old Nardo grey off old RS models, and I think it looks great. And somehow the interior for that blends with it as well, because it also has a gloss black interior here too. So whoever spec'd this car at Audi Australia, I think did a pretty good job. Most of the things that are in here are standard, including this new 12.3-inch touchscreen that debuted in 2020 that is super slick and fast in its operation. I love it. It's got embedded Wi-Fi. In here, it's attached to a 10-speaker stereo with 180 watts. And look, it's okay. It's good with music that's recorded recently, and that's electronic probably, but it doesn't really like music from the past. Even if it has been remastered, you are better off to just skip this altogether and go for the 19-speaker Bang & Olufsen 755 watt thing and dump that standard piece of crap, because it's just not quite up to the standard of the rest of this interior. And it's a really good interior. The sports seats are standard as they are in the normal 35 TFSI. The steering wheel, fantastic. It's round. Remember those? Has this little silver bit in the bottom that does reflect in sunlight, but everything in here feels really well sorted. The driving position is great. The steering wheel feels great. We have the virtual cockpit in front, which is still, I think, almost hasn't been bettered in terms of its clarity and just the classiness of its look. The rest of the A4's interior works really well, especially considering this car has been around since 2016, because it got all the fundamentals right. So most of it is actually pretty much the same. The touchscreen has removed the MMI controller, so we do have this little pop-up bin here that I've kind of wondered what it's good for other than Mentos for guests, but I actually think it might be good for McDonald's chips or fries or whatever they call them. there. I think that'd be perfect. You could rest your hand on the gear lever there and just slowly feed yourself and put on weight. The gear lever is the same as it's always been. It falls really nicely to hand. We have Audi, Volkswagen's beautiful center armrest here that, again, just feels ergonomically perfect. Pair of cup holders, one USB and a 12 volt here, but another USB, shoots a USB-C there in the back one. Wireless charging here with wireless Apple CarPlay that is seamless and works really well. And even things like having proper door grabs on all of the doors. We have tobacco roof lining in here with everyone having a roof grab, which is pointless for the driver. And this 1 litre camping bottle fits in both front doors as well as the back doors, as I shall show you. The A4 sedan isn't quite as roomy as in the wagon. It does have a little bit of a slope in the headlining here, but it still has a ton of room for a medium-sized premium sedan. Certainly better than the current C-Class, although we haven't driven the new generation one. And I think probably even better than the 3 Series, although it's very close. Considering that this is a 5-year-old car, it was so far ahead of the competition when it was new for this sort of stuff, and it still feels great now. This seat is really comfortable, has really good under thigh support. I'm slightly elevated over the front so I can see kind of everything. Again, the tobacco headlining is nice and light. It doesn't have that oppressive feeling of having dark coloured headlining. The centre seat here is actually sittable, although not for very long periods, but better than most. We do have this really cool little armrest here that does feel really solid, unlike the Q5 we drove recently. It has a nice little carpeted bin here and these very nifty little cup holders that don't feel like they're going to break like the Q5's ones. And clack. We've got little vents in here with temperature control but no fan control, but that's still fine. I suppose where the A4 is starting to show its age a little bit is that it only has a 12 volt outlet here. It doesn't have any USB stuff, but you could always run one on a long cord from the USB-C in the center there. And finally we do this, takes proper drinks from the doors and has proper door grabs. So this is about utility as much as it is about luxury. The combined fuel consumption figure for the A445 TFSI is 7.1 litres per 100 kilometres, whereas we average 9.2 litres per 100 kilometres. The warranty for Audi in Australia is 3 years or unlimited kilometres, which is 2 years less than Volkswagen's, while the servicing for the recommendation is 12 months or 15,000, with the 5-year service package for this car costing $2,920. Until the A4 on this MLB Evo platform, I don't think all of the engines were really as fizzy and as lovely as they could have been. But the one that absolutely stands out is what powers this 45 TFSI, which is the same as the old 2 litre TFSI before it got renamed in 2019. Now, as we're about to discover, because I'm about to flatten it, has a little bit of rasp as it changes gears. It just really hauls. Now, 5.8 seconds to 100 is the sort of performance that would have once been acceptable or great in an S4, and yet here we have it in just a regular 2 litre A4. 183 kilowatts at 5,000 to 6,500 revs, 370 newton meters from 1,600 to 4,500, and a 7-speed dual clutch that's now as refined as it's ever been, and you have a genuine performance car masquerading as just a regular sedan. Even the all drive system, as we just saw come out of these corners, it's just knows when to transfer power to the back. You can flip it down into sport here to go down a gear when you need to. It's just, it sounds good, really good. It's so nice. I think BMW's 2 litre would give it a run for its money, perhaps a tiny bit better in a 330i, but certainly not current gen Mercedes C-Class models, at least until it gets the update. The rest of this car is just all-round competent. It does have optional adaptive suspension, which is $1,100, although it's sports adaptive, which means it's 20mm lower than standard and is quite firm, although you can select comfortable in the individual mode in the center here, and it does manage to be reasonably comfortable. But this is more about smooth road sports rather than bumpy Aussie road comfy. If that's a problem for you, do not buy the sedan at all. Just forget about it, or the coupe even. just by the A4 all-road, because if you can handle having a wagon, then what you gain out of that car, having sort of 50 odd millimeters of ground clearance extra, plus optional adaptive dampers, is this level of comfy fluency that doesn't quite be part of the package in this 45 TFSI sedan. This is essentially a sports sedan. Now, obviously with that ride, it does tend to get a little bit abrasive over bad surfaces, and if you don't option the adaptive dampers, it becomes even more so, because sports suspension is standard even with the fixed rate dampers. So you're getting the look and you're getting the performance, but you're also getting a suspension tune that is generally designed for German roads and not ours. While this A4 already has a lot of safety embedded in it, including having a really great grippy all-wheel drive chassis, great vision, and a general level of smooth, effortless predictability and performance, you do have to pay extra for some safety kit. That's part of the Assistance Package Plus, which is $2,900 and brings collision avoidance assist, junction turn assist, a head-up display, park assist, a 360-degree camera, and predictive efficiency assist, which tells you when to back off the accelerator, knowing that the car will keep coasting along, because this drivetrain also has a mild hybrid system for giving it that extra bit of idle stop smoothness and that coastability that brings the fuel consumption down to a pretty impressive number for a car that weighs approaching 1,600 kilos. So there you have it, an A4 sedan, which is not a wagon and it's not a coupe or a sportback. It's just the plain old sedan. But I don't reckon it's really that plain. I think this one looks really quite good. That engine is so spirited and lovely, and the chassis still really does do fun things, even though I don't think that it rides as well as it should, at least with the sports version of the adaptive suspension. But when you think about how much car prices have gone up these days, and you look at that Audi there, the only thing it's really missing is a decent stereo, because we know what I think about the standard one, and it's under $80,000 before on road, which is not so bad. It looks like it's probably worth 90 to 100, and I think that's a good thing. And you don't need the S4's performance, because that 2-litre turbo has kind of got all you really need, I reckon. It's fizzy, it's lovely, and it's efficient. So if you haven't subscribed, please do so below, hit the notification bell, and tell us what you think about the A4 45 TFSI or chasing cars. Thanks for watching.